Or like this.
First your lens so that these lines are sharp and clear on all parts of the screen. Now set the volume control on your projector. The sound level should be adjusted until my voice can be clearly understood in all sections of the room. You are now ready to participate in another Pan American travel adventure.
To the ancient Romans, water was a magic element. When you think of my country, when you think of Italy, think of enchanted springs, magic fountains, wishing wells. Ebbene, take a Roman's advice. If you're dreaming of a journey, make a wish.
Make a wish. I guess there's one dream that most of us share. To see Italy one day. To see Rome. Imperial Rome. Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. The Colosseum. Like a familiar face. Eternal Rome, St. Peter's, and the Vatican. Years ago, an American writer said, Rome, the city of all time and of all the world.
City of all time, of all the world. I like that. It says everything. A very old city, kept young and alive by 100 underground springs. Who knows? Perhaps 1,000 fountains. What else are things arranged so practically and yet so beautifully? Ecco Roma. This is Rome. Practical and romantic. A young Roman serenade. Sometimes we surprise ourselves. We become tourists, sightseers in our own city. The Piazza del Campidoglio, the capital. The great white monument to Victor Emmanuel Piazza di Spagna, the Spanish Steps. Every Roman carries on a sort of private love affair with Rome. The beauty of the city, the way life spills out into the streets. The elegant boulevards, the sidewalk cafes. It's all there, all interwoven. One city, many cities. The past and the present, layer on layer. Every time we dig a new foundation, we seem to dig up a piece of history, and overnight, it becomes part of the city's life.
And next thing you know, someone comes halfway around the world to look at it. For centuries, we've been coming back to Rome. Everyone's memory, everyone's past. The old Forum was once the heart of the city and the heart of the civilized world. Our builders, our lawmakers, artists, philosophers. For 2,000 years, Rome has belonged to all of us. And we still come from halfway around the world. We still come. In a few short hours, you're in Rome, following the guidebooks, getting lost now and then, walking 100 miles in a day, putting it all down on film. Still, you do find time to poke around in odd corners of the city. To discover things for yourself. Discover Rome. Hand-woven straw in the neighborhood marketplace. Hand-woven silk on the Via Condotti. Every detail is a work of art, and a work of art takes time. Nothing is hurried, and everything is worth waiting for. Guessing your way through an Italian menu can be quite an adventure.
And when you're tired of guessing, there is something a little more familiar at the bottom of the menu. The Italian chef is very versatile. There are many ways to see Rome. Many ways.
Chitarra che m'accordi di re minore che nella notte limpida e stellata fa che quest'eco che
After lunch, the sun is warm and Rome is suddenly quiet. The hour of siesta, the city is dreaming. For me, this is the way to remember Rome.
Make a wish. Think of a sunlit terrace, warm blue water, think of the Mediterranean. The island of Capri.
Think of sunlit music echoing along the Amalfi Coast. Little fishing villages tumbling down the coast of the sea to the Mediterranean. Centuries ago, merchant ships from Greece and Carthage sailed into these ports and traded with the fishermen. Phoenicians and Saracens once anchored their ships in the harbor at Portofino. Now, the harbor is filled with yachts and little sailboats. The ships are different now, but the men are very much the same. Sometimes it seems that everything in this country, life itself, is only a reflection of the sea.
Everything a reflection of the sea. Perhaps that's true. The men who built the old city of Pompeii heard the Mediterranean roaring in the distance. Wave after wave, the great civilizations of the ancient world washed up on the shores of Italy. Under the warm sun of the Mediterranean, the country people still harvest wine from the ancient vineyards, oil from the olive groves.
Under the warm Italian sun, things seem to grow old very slowly, very beautifully. In the hills of Tuscany and Umbria, the old fortress towns of the Middle Ages. Perugia, Spoleto, Assisi. Even the names are history. But suddenly you turn a corner and come upon the smell of freshly baked bread. Our old towns are still alive. Every morning, a loaf of bread, a dozen new laid eggs, a bottle of local wine, and yesterday's gossip. Looking out across the Umbrian Plain, the Monastery of San Francesco. Saint Francis of Assisi, il poverello, the saint of the poor and the humble. The world of St. Francis is sweet with the sound of bells.
Firenze, the greatest of the hill towns, the city of flowers. We call it Florence. You think of Florence as an immense museum of art, but the first thing you notice is people. People living their lives as though it were any other town. The Ponte Vecchio, the old bridge across the Arno, is still lined with the workshops of goldsmiths, silversmiths. The most inexpensive souvenir is a work of art. The great masters of the Renaissance once served their apprenticeship at these benches, and the jeweler's craft is still the same. You think of Florence as a Renaissance city, but somehow, nothing seems to be obsolete here. Nothing goes out of date. Every building, every statue was made to be lived with. Every corner of the city echoes with great names. Michelangelo, Giotto, Donatello. Surrounded by the city's traffic, Ghiberti's great baptistry doors. The city lives close to its masterpieces.
On festival days, the old hill towns live close to the past. History becomes a pageant and a contest. For one day, we try to imagine what it must have been like. What was it like to handle the crossbow? What was it like to be welcomed home from a great victory? In Siena, they can talk for a whole year about the winner of last year's Palio. And what is the Palio? Wait.
When you think of Italy, think of a mountain lake, cool green water. Think of your first view of the Dolomites, the Italian Alps. Promise yourself to come back sometime in the winter and to bring your skis. Think of fantastic mountain highways and a little roadside church in the Tyrol. Think of an afternoon spent on the shores of a mountain lake.
Think of Venice. If you have ever been here, and even if not, you think of Venice. In Naples, in Florence, even in Rome, we dream of Venice. And like everyone else, we come to Venice on our honeymoon. A 100 narrow little streets of water all lead to the Grand Canal. And across the lagoon, the Piazza San Marco. When Napoleon first saw San Marco, he called it the most beautiful drawing room in Europe. Spend a little time in Piazza San Marco. Wait for the great clock to strike the hour. When you think of Italy, remember the canals of Venice. Remember San Marco.
Make a wish. At the end of every journey, make a wish. And perhaps you will come back.
But of course, everyone does.